You're listening to a Frequency Podcast Network production.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Welcome to Friday. My name is Brock.
I'm Dalby.
I've been watching that Netflix show with Courtney. What is it? Worst Roommate Ever?
Okay.
You seen that on Netflix yet?
No, it's like a reality show? Or?
No. It's, I guess, like a true crime kind of thing. It's about people who have bad roommates.
Yeah.
And, I mean, a lot of them, there's some people that get murdered by their roommates. Ugh. Obviously, it's not them telling the story, but...
No. But the idea of sort of recapping these terrible, tragic roommate situations.
It's wild shit. If you ever thought you had a bad roommate, watch this show.
Really?
But the one thing it's making me realize is I gotta get better photos of myself out there for when I do die. Because, man, anyone who watches true crime, you'll agree with me on this. Every time they show photos of someone, they're always the worst fucking photos, man.
Oh, absolutely. It's someone who, nobody really took pictures of them. They didn't take very many. I mean, it's getting a little easier now because selfies are a thing with digital.
But I always take funny photos. Like,
right.
That's kind of my go-to is, like, make a funny face, whatever. Yeah. Dude, if there was a documentary, it'd just be, like, me with a beer, like, and be like, look at this jag-off.
Right, like, if you went missing tomorrow and we had to put your face on a milk carton, it would either have to be, like, some promotional photo from the radio station, or like you in cut-off shorts giving metal horns with your dog or doing something silly with a car you found.
And even if you aren't doing silly photos, like if you're the kind of person that's trying to take like hot photos, like there's this one girl and like she didn't die, she's alive, so sure. I don't feel bad making fun of her, but she had a bad roommate and like her roommate did all this messed up stuff that caused her to go in the hospital. But she must have picked the photos for herself because every photo is like an extreme filter is on it and duck face in every single photo, and it's hard to have sympathy for someone when they're just like, oh man, like my life was in shambles, and every photo is like that weird kissy face kind of thing.
That's the other thing though, like you talk about just like needing more good photos of yourself in case you ever go missing or when you die. There's also a whole generation of people like, if you go missing, we'll never find you because you look nothing like the 86 layers of filters and makeup and all the other stuff.
Brother, this lady did not look like any of the photos. They would like use a photo of her and her creepy roommate and then cut to a photo of her and you're like, it's only supposed to be like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not real.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you looked at a missing poster on a telephone pole or something like that and then looked at the person down the street, you may never connect the dots that you just found this person.
Yeah.
Because it's like, no, you don't look anything like your Instagram told me.
I'm going to make a folder on my phone of, like, photos to use when I die.
Okay.
Just so it can be set up.
Your obituary photo.
Yeah, because the thing that sucks is like, I think when you die, it's kind of like when someone tags a photo of you, they're going to use the best photo of themselves. I see it all the time. When people die, they'll post a photo and they'll be like, oh, rest in peace, Riley. Yeah. And it's like, Riley looks like shit in the photo, but I look fucking great.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're dead. I'm alive. That's all that matters.
Like, I'll miss you so much. But that other picture of the two of us, I'm not looking my best, so we'll just leave that one aside.
Pour one out for my ugly-ass homie, Riley.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
When you were growing up, how did you say the alphabet? Like the song, how did it go for you?
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Wow, sorry, Z.
How did you finish it?
Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? I've heard next time, won't you come with me? Which that one doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I'm just saying.
I don't know if that's the child-friendly one.
I'm just saying.
Apparently, the ABC song has actually changed for kids.
Oh.
Yeah, there's this video going viral of, I guess, a teacher who teaches like kindergarten or something.
Okay.
And it's for the weirdest reasons. Listen to this.
Because kids hear LMNOP and they don't say the individual letter names. Some even think that this is one letter.
They think LMNOP.
Oh, yikes.
Is one letter. It gets worse. Keep listening.
Another reason is because at the end of the traditional alphabet song, we sing Y and Z, and some kids think that YN is a letter or and Z is a letter.
I just feel like if you're the teacher and your kids are walking away from school thinking LMNOP is one word and YN is one word, That's on you. That's not on them.
If Elemento is one letter, then my name is Brock Elementous. But here. So they actually have changed the version for kids so they know the proper letters.
Okay.
So instead we sing it A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Now I never will forget how to say the alphabet.
I hate it.
Physically
I hate
hurt.
it, dude.
That physically hurt my brain.
And I feel like we're all thinking the same thing. Like, why not just correct them and keep it the same?
That's just it.
Yeah.
You're changing something that doesn't need to be changed.
I know there's a lot of things in life where people are like, oh, you're doing this to Mr. Potato Head? Like,
right.
blah, blah, blah. But, like, this is one of those things that you seriously did not need to change, you know?
If you think that the world is ready for a new alphabet song, this one that we've been using for literal decades isn't getting the job done anymore, then go write a new song.
Even just the ending part.
Now I never will forget how to say the alphabet.
I don't know why it rocks me to my core.
That part doesn't bother me, but again, I think it's because like in my head, I've heard multiple endings to the song.
I don't like change, okay? I don't like change.
I get that. I'm with you on the rest of it. That part, it's weird. It's not as bothersome to me. The LMNOPQ, whatever it is, no. Get out of here.
Someone just texted in that version, gave me an aneurysm.
Honestly, like I felt pressure.
It's like when they change math, you know? Like I feel like they're always changing math on parents.
Oh my God, you see these videos of people that are like, all right, so here's a mathematical equation, and then they're drawing boxes and lines and dots, and I'm like, I won an award in math in grade 12. I never did this. What are we doing here?
I will say, if they're going to change the ABC song like this and they're going to get rid of Elemento, I think the future for hip-hop and rap is going to be terrible, to be honest with you. I mean, think about it like this. If we didn't have that ABC song, we wouldn't have Eminem.
That's true.
We wouldn't have him.
That's right. This teaches you to be able to think and process our language at a faster pace. If your kid can't handle 4 rapid-fire letters, then that's a you problem.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
That's funny. Last week we were talking about how silly speed walking looks when the competition was on.
The whole idea, it's just basically a bunch of people clenching, trying to get to the nearest restroom.
Yeah. Now there's actually a lot of people that are campaigning that they want speed walking removed from the Olympics.
That took a hard turn.
I've seen a lot of articles and videos popping up that I guess last week during the big race, most of them were running.
Oh, I have seen this. So for those that don't follow, what makes race walking is the rules state 1 foot has to be in contact with the ground at all times, because if you were in a full stride where maybe both feet are off the ground, that's technically running.
Yeah, it's like the back toe cannot leave the ground until the heel of the front has touched, something like that.
And there's like a bunch of pictures from...
They're all just floating like midair.
It looks like some spooky stuff.
You know what they look like? They all look like a kid in school when the teacher yelled at them, no running in the halls. Like that's exactly what it is. And it got me thinking, like, I mean, if people want to get rid of speed walking, I feel like there's a lot of other sports in the Olympics that you could get rid of too.
You got some in your scope that are higher than speed walking?
I'm going to be honest with you. Why is soccer in the Olympics?
Well, it's a pretty major sport.
Hear me out. It is a major sport. But then what's the point of having the World Cup if there's the Olympics?
I see what you're saying.
Right? Because, I mean, the World Cup was literally last fall, and it was this big thing, and you're the champions of the world in football, rather.
Right, yeah.
But then you have the Olympics, and some of these teams don't even make it, and it's kind of like how the NHL doesn't want NHL players to go to the Olympics, so they try and do the World Cup of hockey or whatever weird thing they're going to try next year.
Right, yeah.
What's the point? Like,
I will say, if you're going to cancel soccer, people are going to come for basketball and hockey, too, on the same basis of, like, we already have a Stanley Cup. Why do we need the Olympics?
Well, that's what I'm saying with the NHL thing is, like, what's the point of having these multiple world championships? Because the Olympics is supposed to be the end-all, be-all of all the countries coming together.
This is where it all lands.
For the biggest competition, right?
Right, yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, that's for sure. fair.
But then also, if you want to go to the silly aspect of things that shouldn't be in the Olympics, dressage.
Oh, the horse events?
The Olympics are supposed to be about human athleticism.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not knocking anyone who's into horses or anything like that. It's a skill.
Right.
But it's the horse who's winning the medal, not the person.
That I will say, I like watching the equestrian events. I find them to be very entertaining. But you're right. At the end of the day, you can tell me that the rider is the one that's guiding the horse through everything. But until they hang a medal around the neck of the horse, then I think the whole thing's a sham.
That's exactly it. I know people are upset that breakdancing is in the Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, those people are doing a little bit more. Like, the horses are basically breakdancing. That's what it is.
I'll tell you right now, the day that a horse drops onto its back and does a 360 spin back to its feet, give that horse all the gold medals.
That's when they bring out the shotgun, my friend.
Oh, that's right. That's a different outcome.
That's a sadder ending than you want it to be.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Someone brought up a good point and said, how is MMA just as like a collective not at the Olympics? I mean, obviously the UFC is the big one, but there's so many different fighting organizations that there's fighters all across the world that nobody really knows of.
This is true. I think the thing is with the Olympics, and you see it in like boxing and some of the other combat sports that are in there, they're not necessarily looking for the knockout, which is like tap, snap, nap. That was the whole big thing for MMA. Whereas in the Olympics, it's more meant to be like the judge's decision.
But I feel like MMA has gotten a little more developed than, you know, the old school days, right? Where even, like I'm saying, like there's the UFC, there's ONE, there's all these different kind of brands. And if you could get all these guys into one kind of area for a few days, it'd be a great tournament.
Oh, sure. But are you going to put them all in headgear, like liver pads and stuff like that? Like you see in boxing, like they have to wear the headgear.
Sure,
right?
sure.
I just don't think, I think once you got MMA Olympicized, I don't think it would be as entertaining to watch as like the actual sport.
Sure. Someone said bowling should be in the Olympics. Honestly, that's more of a sport than dressage is.
So I would watch Olympic bowling, 100%.
Who do you think you are? I am, but at an Olympic level?
For a gold medal? That'd be fantastic. You know what used to be in the Olympics that, like, I'm talking like way back in the day that I think would be cool to bring back? Tug of war used to be.
Oh, yeah, we
Olympic
talked about
event.
that a few weeks ago.
That would be amazing to just watch, like, each country bring out their biggest lads and ladies and tie them to a rope.
Yeah, that's how we started that whole conversation on, like, schoolyard things that could be in the Olympics. I mean, dodgeball would be sick, right?
Dodgeball would also be a lot of fun to watch.
And that's getting bigger and bigger. Like, it's a recreational thing, but there's, like, professional dodgeball leagues now.
That's right.
You could literally have the movie Dodgeball in real life.
Like, it has been this growing sport as, like, you know, people who played it in high school get older and want to recapture their youth.
Well, I mean, hell, Ultimate Frisbee, it's an NCAA sport now.
That's right. I always forget that it's like a major college level event.
And that's big across the world, too.
Yeah.
So even Ultimate Frisbee, and then what's the other one? Like the golf Frisbee, what do you call that?
Oh, disc golf.
Disc golf.
Yeah. Disc golf, I think, would be fun, and I think that you would have a level of appreciation from the athletes that you don't really get from actual golf. Like actual golfers, PGA golfers.
They don't care about the Olympics.
I'm sure they're like, oh, this is fun. Or like, I would love to win a gold medal because like, who wouldn't? But I feel like they're more thinking about like, okay, the next tournament I play in, I could win $100,000.
Well, we just got a text in here and someone brought up a good point. They said the Olympics were originally supposed to be one-person sports. So, I mean, all of those things that we just listed off are one-person sports. I mean, hell, darts.
Darts would be sick.
Darts would be unreal. Have you ever seen darts late night on TSN?
Oh, absolutely.
The crowds absolutely go bonkers at those things.
Could the Olympics possibly allow a lad to be throwing his darts with a pint and a dart, though? Like, he's got a cigarette in the ashtray on the table at the Olympic level? Would they let them compete in their element?
I don't know, but I'd be excited that the next time Canada gets the Olympics because it'd just be held at a Legion or something.
That would be so wicked. That would be must-see TV.
We need to add darts, pool, crokinole.
Dude, Olympic crokinole? Yes, please. Put it in prime time.
Even if you just made like a bar Olympics.
Oh, Olympic cornhole?
That'd be so... That's getting huge too, man.
Imagine the pop-off when a guy throws the bag, hits the target, gets a gold medal for his team and his country, the celebration would be unhinged.
Hell, dude, I played some people in beer pong, and they take it like it's the Olympics, man.
I'll watch Olympic beer pong today.
This is the Brock and Delby Podcast.
I was reading a story about rich people's boats crashing into one another. Steve Jobs from Apple passed away. His widow, or his ex-wife, Laureen Powell Jobs, her yacht crashed into the yacht of Mexican broadcasting billionaire Ricardo Salinas Pliego.
That's a lot of names.
Neither of them were even on their yachts. It was just their yachts were out on the water for whatever reason, crashed into each other. Now you've got two billionaires sort of chirping back and forth at each other.
Okay.
The thing that stood out to me, though, was why do yachts for rich people all have lame names? You ever notice that?
What were the names of this?
So the Mexican dude, his mega yacht was called Lady Moura, like Moura. And the Apple boat was just called Venus, which is like, I don't know, you spend all the money to get a boat, give it a cool name.
I mean, if your husband was the guy that made Apple, it should be the iBoat, right?
100%. iYacht? Yeah. The options are endless if your husband owned Apple, or ran Apple.
I've always thought if I ever have enough money to get a good boat, and it's just because I'm a Blink-182 fan, they have a song called Man Overboard.
Oh.
And I like the irony of maybe naming your boat that.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, even, just from like a musical perspective, there are so many, like, if you're a Sublime fan, how do you not name your boat What I Yacht?
Yeah, that's great. Honestly, the Tragically Ship, you could do so much with the hip. I mean,
absolutely.
Nautical Disaster goes with the irony.
I have seen boats named Nautical Disaster, and it doesn't matter how many of them I see in my lifetime, I will always tip a cap. Well done.
Boats or Hearts, maybe.
Boats or Hearts is great.
Yeah.
Oh, a music festival, but on the water. That's $1 million idea. Let's talk about that later. What about Wet Zeppelin?
Wet Zeppelin is good. 9-inch Sails could work.
See and Destroy.
System of a Drown.
Not Ready to Row.
Oh, that's really good.
For when the engines go down?
Yeah.
Which I guess if you're spending mega yacht money, you would hope not.
You could do a lot with buoys. You could do like the Beastie buoys, the Beach buoys.
Bowie George.
Bowie George is good too. Buoys to Men.
David Bowie.
The Backstreet buoys. Smoking in the buoys room. The Buoys of Summer?
Oh, if nobody... Listen, it is August 9th. Y'all got 1 year. If next August not one person has a boat called Buoys of Summer, what are we even doing here?
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Delby Podcast. It's time for Brock and Delby's Draft.
All right, there's a Saturday Night Live movie coming out. The trailer just dropped yesterday, and the cast for it looks pretty good. The guy who's playing Chevy Chase, Belushi, they all look pretty identical, so we figured we're going to do a little draft ski here of the best SNL cast members of all time.
It's a tough one to pick because, again, this show has been on for so long, and almost 150, 160 full-time cast members have come and gone through the halls of Saturday Night Live. So trying to narrow it down to a top 3 is going to be tough, but you did win rock, paper, scissors. You do get first pick in the draft today.
All right. I want everybody to know that I am 29 years old and not watched much Saturday Night Live, but with my number 1 pick, I think I have to go with the iconic Chris Farley at number 1.
Yeah.
That's who I got to go with, and mainly just because of the In a Van Down by the River.
That's just it. I mean, Chris Farley has so many iconic lines from his time in Saturday Night Live. The Chippendale sketch, the Van Down by the River. Like, it's easy to remember all the movies he went on and did, but we quote so much Farley on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. So number 1, I'm going Chris Farley.
I will also go to sort of actually even newer Saturday Night Live cast member than Farley, who I know that he's gone on and done a million things that we think about in movies and stuff like that, but for a number of years Will Ferrell was the absolute backbone of Saturday Night
Damn it.
Live.
How did I forget Ferrell was on SNL?
Ferrell was the king of Saturday Night Live.
The cowbell and everything, too?
I've been listening to a podcast with the Lonely Island guys talking about their time at SNL. The way they talk about Will Ferrell, who was like on his way out when they got there, is the way that like religious people talk about gods. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was a legend. So that's my first pick.
Coming in at number 2 for me, I know he wasn't big on skits, but he's one of my favorite comedians of all time. I got to put Norm Macdonald on there.
Norm's huge, yeah. I mean, it was Saturday. It was the update,
weekend updates, yeah. And I mean the amount of times he went after O.J. Simpson.
In his book, O.J. Simpson says that he would have taken a bullet or stood in front of a train for Nicole. Man, I'm going to tell you, that is some bad luck when the one guy who would have died for you kills you.
Also, the random cutaways to Frank Stallone.
Yeah.
Gotta laugh every single time. I go old school, and actually, one of the people who I believe is featured fairly prominently in this movie, my number 2 pick, John Belushi. I mean, that's where the Blues Brothers were born, all the skits. Basically, anytime Saturday Night Live needed someone to do something wild in a skit, they went to the bullpen for Belushi. He was a legend on that show. He
never had his hair tamed either. He was a wild man.
That was just it. I don't know if that guy ever spent a moment in the makeup chair or just barreled his way onto the stage.
As Rick James once said, cocaine is a hell of a drug. Coming in at number 3, I know some people might not like this pick, but I am going to go with Andy Samberg at number 3.
I had him on my list too.
Because a huge part of my childhood, I mean, when this song came out when I was in, the 8th grade?
Let's go. I'm on a boat. Yeah.
We got the Lonely Island CD when I was a kid, which was the songs from all the skits there, the SNL shorts that they did.
Incredibad, yeah.
And this set up my entire humor for the rest of my life.
The crazy thing is, and again, like I said, I've been listening to that podcast, this is not even in like the top 5 of those digital shorts that they did that blew up. Dick in a Box, they did Lazy Sunday, the Natalie rap. The digital short literally saved SNL. It was going down hard.
Absolutely.
They brought in Samberg and his crew. Samberg was a great cast member and a great writer that doesn't get credit.
I mean, we got Hot Rod, we got Brooklyn Nine-Nine out of him.
Right.
Oh, so fantastic.
For my 3rd and final pick, I'm going to do another old school one. And again, it was a guy who went on to be well more famous for his movie roles than he was for his time in Saturday Night Live. But the stuff that he did on the show, got to take Bill Murray. They brought in Bill Murray to replace Chevy Chase, which
he was an absolute dick, though.
Oh, 100%. But if you're replacing Chevy Chase, even if you're a total dick, you're probably not as much of a dick.
Yeah.
So you're still good.
Yeah, two dicks make a positive? Is that how that works?
Bill Murray was a legend on that show, played so many great characters, so many great roles. So I'll do my top 3 here. I start with Will Ferrell, and then I go old school with John Belushi, and then kind of in the middle with Bill Murray.
I got Farley, I got Norm Macdonald, and I'm going to go Andy Samberg at number 3.
It is crazy that neither of us took David Spade. That's such a shame.
I just hate his face.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Not a Florida man today, but a Florida woman making headlines for a very interesting gambit. She was arrested. She has been charged with drug possession of like the paraphernalia around drugs when she was pulled over by an officer who noticed a bag on the floor, like a purse type bag.
Oh, I've seen this going around.
It was labeled bag of drugs.
I saw this.
This is my bag of drugs.
She had so much stuff in there.
She had so much stuff in there, yeah.
Spoons, needles, everything in between.
Here's the thing that I want your opinion on. I want to debate you on this because she got busted not because the officer saw a bag that said, "This is my bag of drugs," and was like, "I'd like to see in your bag of drugs," but only because she was sloppy and the bag of drugs had fallen over and things had like spilled out of it.
Oh, okay.
So then the officer's like,
rookie mistake.
"Those are drugs falling out of your bag of drugs. I'd like to see the rest of it." And then she got caught.
Yeah.
Had she had her stuff together, cleaned up, if she'd just been pulled over and this bag is sitting on the passenger seat, "This is my bag of drugs," brilliant strategy or dumb strategy?
Well, then the cop wouldn't have a reason to look in it, right?
No, but I mean...
He needs some incentive.
Do you think that he would have been suspicious? Do you think if you pull someone over and they've got, this is my bag of drugs?
Well, here's the thing. She may be a criminal, but at least she's not a liar, right?
No, that's true. Do you think the judge will give her some time off for her honesty?
She could get a new bag next time that says get a warrant.
You'll need a warrant to see what's in here.
You need reasonable cause to look in here.
I do love the gambit of like trying to, when you're like, oh yeah, sure, that's totally what this is. Like when people are like, oh, have you been speeding today? Oh yeah, officer, I was doing 120 for sure.
Well, I'll say this. I've watched a lot of cops over the years, and a lot of people who have DUIs usually have like beer t-shirts on. So it kind of...
That's about the same
But
thing.
then again, I mean, maybe this gal just has a bad memory, from all the drugs.
Oh,
you know how people have like those pill things labeled out like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
I have one, yeah.
Maybe she just has that because she forgets where she puts her drugs.
This wasn't some like ironic tongue-in-cheek style decision. It was literally for her own good. It was like, oh, that's my bag of drugs.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
It's a bait thing to do. It's like stoners who put stickers on their car with weed leaves. You're just targeting yourself at that point.
It is. It's not the wisest move to bring attention to yourself when you are committing illegal acts. You know what I mean? Like it's like walking into the bank with a balaclava on. Everybody kind of has an idea of what comes next.
I mean, the whole pandemic was basically that. But I'll say this. I mean, any actual stoner would probably agree with me that, like, if you were living in your parents' house in high school, whatever it is, you had to be nonchalant, kind of like that classic movie trope of, like, putting your stash inside of a book, a textbook or something,
hollowing out the Bible to hide something illegal in it.
Dude, when I had my communion in the second grade, they gave me, like, this box with a rosary and a bunch of religious junk in there.
Oh, okay, sure.
So when I got to high school, that's where I put my stash. Mama would never think to look at the Holy Spirit.
See, and here I was boring when I was a kid. I just hid my stash in the speakers of my stereo.
Once again, rookie mistakes.
Yeah, I had so many things to learn. Yeah. If only I'd had a friend like you.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Ed's word of the day.
Let's see what he's got.
Good morning. Now, the word is jocular. Yep, jocular. Jocular. Jocular.
Jocular.
And it's said or done as a joke. No joking around. Anyways, that's about it. Have a great one. Cheers her up.
I couldn't hear the definition, to be honest with you. What did he say?
It's basically it's someone who's very jokey, very playful, someone who's constantly in sort of a silly mood. You would describe them as jocular.
Jocular.
So almost the opposite of what Ed sounded like today, but kind of like what Ed sounds like normally.
Okay.
Just you're in a jocular mood when you're just always making jokes.
Okay, so would it be appropriate to refer to comedians as joculars?
Some. Well, I don't think you can use it as
you
like
can't
a
call
title.
them jocks because that's athletes,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
No, but like I would say that there are comedians who you could call jocular, ones that are constantly like Robin Williams. That's a jocular comedian right
I think
there.
I'm just going to use it in general. If people are like, what are you doing? I'm going to the jocular show tonight.
Shocking around.
I've always wanted to try stand-up jocular. That sounds bad, actually.
Yeah,
that sounds really bad.
I'm glad that we had this conversation and you could say some of these things out loud here in this safe space before you did them in public.
Oh, that doesn't mean I'm not going to use it. Sometimes the worse things sound, the better it is to say,
Now you're committed to the bit.
Jocular. Use it wherever you can this weekend, all right?
For more Brock and Dalby, tune in weekday mornings 5:30 to 9.
The Brock and Dalby podcast is brought to you by badshop.ca, the Brock and Dalby merch store. With all proceeds going to the Canadian Cancer Society.